Good afternoon. Let's begin with our prayer. Bow your heads, please. Dear God, thank you for bringing us together today. Thank you for this wonderful weather. And thank you for the signs of hope that we see in weather like this. Well, let's all remember today all those that have been affected by the pandemic, those that we've lost, those that are ill with it, and those that have been serving all those, and those that have a lot of uncertainty because of the pandemic. Also, let's remember those with Alzheimer's today and the families that care for them, the caregivers. Same way with those that have cancer and their families and their caregivers. For this we pray, amen. Pledge of allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. The four-way test, the things we think, say, and do as Rotarians. Is it the truth? Is it fair to all concerned? Will it build goodwill and better friendship? Will be beneficial to all concerned? Yeah.
Sean Carroll could not be here today for our Sergeants in Arms report. The Reds had a great July, and it was great to see Joey Votto make history with 8 home runs within 8 games. To introduce our speaker today, it's going to be Julia Powell.
So good afternoon. It's my pleasure to introduce Diana Bosse. Diana is an author. She actually has her book here, The Perks of Having Cancer. And she is a cancer survivor and thriver. And with her mindset of taking a positive spin of cancer has helped her thrive. She also works with the Alzheimer's Association with the walk, and she does special events. And then we also have a fellow Rotarian with us, Tom Rotz, who's going to also talk about the Alzheimer's Association. So this is actually very near and dear to my heart. I don't know if I was a Rotarian when this happened, but 7 years ago, my mom passed away from Alzheimer's. And so not only the struggle for the individuals going through Alzheimer's, but the caregivers. It's really important to support the caregivers because it's very, very tough on them. I saw my dad go through that. So it's my pleasure to introduce Diana Bosse.
Can everybody hear me okay? All right, great. I'm Diana Bosse. Thank you so much for having me here today. As Julie said, I'm with the Alzheimer's Association. I survived cancer and I published a book. And I'm pretty excited about all 3. But I'd like to warn you, speaking is not my forte. I'm thrilled that most of you are Zooming in today because if I stand in front of a large group, I tend to get bright red. Right now, I'm pretty sure I could write my biography, 50 Shades of Red. For some reason, when I appear in front of a room or a handful of people, my heart starts racing. It's racing now, you might be able to hear it. And my face looks like I've spent 6 hours on a beach without sunscreen. Has anybody ever seen the movie Defending Your Life with Albert Brooks? It's a really funny movie, so I'd highly recommend it. At one point, the main character has to give a speech in front of 100 Ford executives. He panics and he freezes behind the podium. Fortunately for him, at the same time, the fire department rushes into the room because somebody has smelled gas. Does anybody smell gas right now? My mom always said it's important to picture your audience naked. That way you can set your mind at ease. So I'm picturing everybody naked now and I'm thinking, well, maybe I should get cancer back and lose a few pounds. You guys look great. But just kidding, I do not want cancer back. No one ever wants cancer, but I do believe that there is a purpose for everything. Writing is very therapeutic for me. It's a stress release. I write best when I'm completely frazzled. And that's happened quite a few times over the last 30 years. I'm sorry, we're on the 4th slide. I guess I was so compelling, we forgot to advance the slides. For example, my mother was diagnosed with younger onset Alzheimer's when she was in her late 50s, about my age. She passed away in 1999 at the ripe young age of 64 years old. It was a horrible thing to watch. I never expected anything good to come of it. But 10 years later, I found myself losing my job in the corporate world after 25 years, and it led me to work at the Alzheimer's Association of Greater Cincinnati. And it's the best job I've ever had with some of the best people that I've ever known. Plus, I acquired a whole new wardrobe of free purple t-shirts. I know one reason I'm good at my job is because I traveled the journey with my mother. I can empathize with families that come to us for help. I'm in development, so it's my job to ask people for money. Folks want to know if that's difficult, but for me, it's not. Alzheimer's is difficult. Asking for a couple of bucks, not so much. More about that later. Another period I thought might be really tough was when my dad came to live with my husband and me. Who has ever had their parents live with them? Who was excited for that to happen? Seriously, I can tell you I was not. But Dad's health was declining and could no longer live alone, and we needed some time to sort things out. Like, where could he live for $1 a day? One of the reasons Dad and I didn't always get along was he was a carefree, happy-go-lucky guy who never planned for the future. Me, I planned for everything. I know what I'm having for dinner tomorrow night. I know where I'm going next Thursday. I know where I'll be on vacation in 2022. But not Dad. We were two very different people. No one could spark my anger faster, but no one could make me laugh harder. To have him live with me, I wasn't laughing. I would have rather have had an alligator in my guest bedroom than to have Dad there, but it happened, and then what happened next really surprised me. Dad taught us to slow down and enjoy life, enjoy the beauty of nature. Together, we discovered that the History Channel can actually be very interesting. But most importantly, I came to know the fun-loving person that everyone else had known all along. It was an unexpected gift. God handed me another unexpected gift in the spring of 2019. We were set to leave for Hilton Head for a golf trip on Friday, April 12th, to attend the Heritage. Instead, my shot landed in the rough. I was admitted to the hospital. I'd not been feeling well for a couple of weeks, and my stomach was so bloated, I was a short knife away from committing hara-kiri. I'd been to the doctor a few days earlier, but wasn't getting any relief. And after work the night before we were supposed to leave, I had stopped at my friend Marlene's house, and her niece was there. I think this was a God wink. Her niece happened to be a nurse who took one look at me and said, "You look like hell." And they knew I was too old to be pregnant. But my stomach was so huge, they made me promise that I'd stop at the ER on the way home from visiting. And I felt so awful, I agreed. I called my husband as I pulled into the parking lot at Bethesda North and told him not to come. The emergency room was packed and I knew I'd be there for hours. I told him he needed to get his rest. We'd be leaving in the morning. It was an 11-hour drive. And so he agreed to stay home. So all alone at 3:30 a.m. in the emergency room, the doctor came in and said to me, "The CAT scan shows extensive swelling of the lymph nodes in your abdomen, which indicates you have cancer." I was blown away. You never forget a moment that somebody tells you that. And it's nothing like it is on TV. I expected somebody to come in and call in the family and hand me a box of Kleenexes and everything would be very dramatic. It didn't happen that way. I was there alone in the dark with my thoughts. So my first thought was, seriously? That's not how they tell people on TV. My second thought was, maybe I should have told my husband to come to the ER tonight. And my third thought was, at least it's not Alzheimer's. With cancer, I have a chance. So I laid alone with my thoughts, waiting for my husband to show up and waiting for a room to open up on the oncology floor. And I vowed at that moment to remain positive throughout my journey because I thought it might improve my chances. I recalled my dear friend Mark, who had been diagnosed with lymphoma 23 years earlier. Had he not told us that he had cancer, we never would have known. He was always positive, he was always upbeat, and most importantly, he's still here today. I needed to take the Mark Bassler approach. And since humor is my default coping mechanism, laughing through lymphoma came naturally. I started posting the perks of having cancer on Facebook, making my business everybody else's business. To my surprise, people were inspired and encouraged by my message. In return, they inspired and encouraged me. Cancer patients told me that I brightened up their dark days. Those without cancer shared their page with friends and family members who did have cancer. And others said they didn't have cancer, but they had a warped sense of humor and they enjoyed starting their morning that way. And then a local author told me that I reminded them of my hero, Irma Bombeck. And that's all it took. That and the fact that I was faced with my own mortality. That will not get you off the couch any faster. A brush with death will get you off the couch and get moving. I realized at that point in time that the perks might make a great book. I'd written several books over the past 3 decades, but never bothered to publish anything. So I thought, if not now, when? Tomorrow is not guaranteed. I knew it was time to follow my dream. I believe, as always, there is a purpose for everything. And by sharing my journey, I could lift others in theirs. That was my purpose. Plus, I wanted to be a published author and rich and famous. 1 out of 3 isn't bad. I am a published author. The result was The Perks of Having Cancer, an inspirational, positive, and humorous view of a not so inspirational, positive, or humorous situation. And while cancer is definitely no laughing matter, I've always felt that laughter can be the best medicine. But that's not the end of my story today. The good news is that my speech is also a 2-for-1. If cancer isn't serious enough, I'd like to turn it over to my friend Tom, who's going to also speak about Alzheimer's disease. I could talk to you about the devastating statistics, about the 6 million Americans that are affected by Alzheimer's disease, that the 18 million caregivers that care for them that are affected, that 1 out of every 5 Medicare dollars goes to pay for somebody with Alzheimer's or some sort of dementia. The statistics go on, but I think it would be much more impactful to start out this portion of the program with a video about the O'Callahans sharing their story. And Julie will be bringing that up for us.
Yeah.
He was my water delivery guy for a store that I ran in Watertown, jewelry store. I'd see him once a month, say hi, that was it. And then one day, we had a special event at the store and I was wearing a red silk dress and that was it. It just seemed like there wasn't even a question. Like I was the one for him and that was gonna be it. And it was true. We're married. I decide I'm gonna go to nursing school and I'm pregnant. 3 redheaded Irish babies in 15 months' time. And then Amanda came into our life. We bought this house, and we've been here ever since. Paulie went first, and then Kevin and Brian went to school as well. So for the first time in who knows how many years, the house was quiet, it was clean, and he really struggled. And of course, we're doing exactly what we're supposed to do. Those kids graduated high school. They're supposed to go to the colleges. They're supposed to travel. You know, I was ready for this part of my life. You know, and that became a big strain for us. So around that time, I said, listen, we have to talk. We were out in the yard, it was gorgeous. We were on the swing. You know, I said to him that something was wrong. Like, what can I do? He just kind of looked off. Now I'm getting tearful because I'm like, do you just not know how to tell me that we're done? nothing, nothing. And I start to cry. And gets up off the swing. He walks into the house, shuts the door, and locks me out. So I'm sitting there sobbing, and I'm like, oh my God, what just happened here? I get up and I go in the house, and he's watching TV. Totally not affected by anything that just happened. And that was absolutely not him. And then that's where it all started. We saw a neurologist because he was forgetting things and he was struggling at work, and he went on an antidepressant and it didn't touch him. And at the same time, so he's getting counseling, scans, neuropsych eval, because I'm pushing them and pushing them. And I said, I'm not saying it as a nurse, I'm saying it because I've been with this guy since I was 21 years old. There's something wrong. Our neurologist happened to be pregnant. She said she was gonna go on a leave, and she goes, we gotta do something. I said, great. She goes, let's get a PET scan. And I'm like, you think he has cancer? And she said, no, but we need to probably just look at it. And I go, absolutely, let's do it. We get the results a couple days later, and she's like, well, it's abnormal. And I go, oh. And she goes, well, your husband either has frontal temporal dementia or he has Alzheimer's. And I'm like, okay, that wasn't really on our radar. We get the diagnosis, sometime later that it was more Alzheimer's than FTD. And now I'm like, okay, let's go. What's next? So Paul went to work the next morning. I sat here and had a good old-fashioned cry for myself, and I really didn't know what to do. So I called the Alzheimer's Association, and I get this wonderful woman on the phone, and I feel like I've got it together. I'm like, okay, what do I need to do? And so she tells me, I'll send you the package, take a breath, we're gonna help you. She was so supportive, and I'm sobbing and I'm sobbing. She's like, oh my God. I go, wait, just give me a second. And I pull it together, I'm like, okay, go, what's next? And literally, like a checklist, I went through it without even thinking about it. I just trusted this person on the other end of the phone, who obviously knew way more than me. And, since then, I've called when I have a thought at 2 o'clock in the morning, if I haven't slept, and I'm like, what do I do next? It's everything. It's from financial questions, it's our future, it's long-term care questions. I don't know what I would have done without that support. He's changing every day. It's very different than it was, just a few months ago even. I do all of his care, get him in the shower, I get him fully dressed. Shaving is quite a challenge, but he has to look good. Like, I have to have that man looking good, because he was like that. And the whole time he's talking to me like, what are you doing that for? Where are we going? I know what I'm doing, Nikki, I can do this. But then he can't, and he doesn't. And so I just say, of course you can, but let me just do this thing for you. As he progresses, my biggest concern is that he become unsafe. And as he is getting so much worse just in the last few months, I called the Alzheimer's Association the other day and I said, how do I pick a long-term care facility? They think he's ready now, and I'm just not. But I don't want him to get hurt because I kept him home longer. And I feel like, when he goes, he's not gonna last very long. So for me to say, okay, it's time, I almost feel like that's me saying. He does have these periods, and from what I understand, other people have them too. It just poof, he's there and then poof, gone. But I'm telling you, he was there for a minute. I didn't even have to see him. He said, hey, baby. And I was like, hey, just the way he said it. And I was driving and he put his hand on my leg. I'm like, oh my God, he's here. I was just so glad that I thought to ask him right away. I said, Paul, is there anything we haven't done? He's like, what? And I go, anything. Anywhere you want to go, any place you haven't seen with me, anything you want to do. And I thought I lost him, but he was thinking. And he looks at me and I'm trying to drive the car and he's like, I just want to spend the next 30 years with you. And I'm like, okay, that was too much. And I said, we don't have 30 years. The doctor just told me I only have 6 months. So what do you want to do? And he kind of chuckled. He goes, it's just as long as I'm with you. And that was it, he was gone. I'll wait for the next one, and see what I get. And so you live for that. He was my water delivery guy for a store that I ran in Watertown, jewelry store. I'd see him once a month, say hi, that was it. And then one day, we had a special event at the store.
Good afternoon, everybody. Oh, turn it on. There we go. How about that? All right, good afternoon, everybody. My name is Tom Rotz. I'm with the Rotary Club of Northeast Cincinnati, formerly Blue Ash Montgomery, if you know either one of those two. If not, we meet on Tuesdays. Come see us. We'd love to have you. I got involved with the Alzheimer's Association about 10 years ago, in line really with what I was doing for a living at the time, and still am. And went to a symposium to learn more about the disease. And they had all these folks get up and tell their stories about the loved ones that they lost or had the disease. And it was just heartbreaking, just like this video. And there's not a single video you can watch about Alzheimer's that doesn't do that to somebody. And I understood that, not having personal experience with the disease myself. But then they showed this slide about the fundraising and the disparities of that disease compared to everything else. And I don't know all the numbers, but we're talking billions of dollars each year from the NIH that would go to cancer research and heart disease. And Alzheimer's was less than, I don't know what at that time, 500 million or something like that. It wasn't even close. One of the statistics they just showed is that it is the 6th leading cause of death in the country. Of the top 10, it is the only one that there is no prevention or cure for at this time. All of the other ones, those death rates are going down every single year. Alzheimer's, they continue to go up. So I got really mad at that time and decided I was going to do everything I could do to help the cause. So I got involved and a few years ago realized that we have this great opportunity with Rotary to be involved, looking at the impact we had on polio around the country and how could we do more as an organization to help. And at that time, I wasn't getting a lot of traction really with my club or anything else. So I was really excited to hear a couple years ago that Rotary International is now, well, Rotary in general is now involved with trying to help in fundraising in this disease through these Rotary action groups. So let me see. First of all, I'll just talk about a little bit about what there we go, perfect, thank you. So what are Rotary action groups? Basically, every club, as you know, has kind of a pet project or 3 or 5, and that your club kind of works towards that. This gives an opportunity for people that may have a cause that maybe is just one too many for the club, or that's their own personal cause that they can group with other Rotarians around the country without having a specific club project involved. Those are the action groups. They kind of stand alone from RI. They have their own bylaws and things like that. And then we currently have one for Alzheimer's disease action group. Basically, it helps Rotary clubs and districts plan and carry out the community development and projects with things that they're interested in, their levels of expertise. Again, as I mentioned, it gives members opportunities to do more that maybe outside the club itself is able to do. And again, it's also aligned with Rotary's priority in increasing our impact in the community. So Rotary has a national walk team. I've been on several national teams. But basically, it's an umbrella showing both our support nationally for the cause and the walk, as well as an opportunity for individual clubs to sign up and be a part of that. This particular action group is the national team, walk team. And you can find the information on doing that here at alz.org Rotary Action Group. I think you can also find it on the RI website. I know there's a list of all the action groups there, and it should be available from there as well. In 2021, the goal is to raise over $250,000. I'm here. We started a team over in Blue Ash, and I'm here basically helping Diana, roughly, but I'm helping a little bit here. In letting other clubs know that this is available to them, and any help we could get would be great. I don't think it'll be this year or even next year, but I really see an opportunity for 10 or 12 of the area clubs in the greater Cincinnati area to really be able to get together and make a big impact with this. All right, so was 2018 the first pilot year? Correct, yeah. So 2018 was the first year they put something together, over 80 teams, which is pretty great considering it was new, and just getting the word out is always difficult, anything like that. And those 80 teams were able to raise over $80,000. The year after that, almost doubled in size, and contributions tripled to $248,000. This past year, 803 participants with 180 teams and 234,000 raised. And the reason that's a little bit down, obviously, anyone want to guess? We didn't really have the walk or the impact we were able to do. A lot of our focus was obviously somewhere else in the last year. This year, let's switch slide. This year, the walk is on October 2 downtown. I'm not sure if everybody signed up yet, so we don't have a good number of where we're at from a national team perspective for Rotary. But I am here to ask that this club consider signing up as a team and maybe challenge some other clubs in the area if you can. The walk is really the main source of funding for all of the programs and everything else that are done with Alzheimer's disease, along with other contributions from the outside. But this is the way we can raise the money. Most of the studies that have been done in the last 10 years started with seed money from the Alzheimer's Association. A lot of the other money goes to programs. You know, I ask all the time how many people are affected when I'm in a room like this by Alzheimer's or know somebody that has been affected by it. And it's rare that you don't see, you know, 75% of the hands go up in a room. And we've talked to a few people already here, and that's the case. The other thing that makes this a natural thing for Rotary is, I don't know about your club as a whole, but our average age is about 70. And that's the right impact age for this disease to affect people or loved ones. We've had, out of 70 people in my club, we've had 3 have to leave because of having the disease, and 2 lost spouses within the last 3 years because of it. So it is definitely something that's going to impact Rotary as a whole as well. Our walk again is on the 2nd. Last year, we were number 4 in the country. And why that's a big thing to say is we're competing against markets like Denver, New York, and Chicago, and San Francisco. For Cincinnati, greater area, to do something like this is really incredible. It is the top 3 in fundraising in the tri-state area, according to Business Courier, and that's compared to other charities like the Heart Foundation and all of that. So again, just great. And I will tell you, when I got involved 10 years ago, that was not the case. Many times you had to tell people what Alzheimer's disease was and the walk. It's the sad thing is that it is out there more because it is more prevalent, but it is beneficial in the sense that we can get out there and get people more involved a little bit more easily. So again, Saturday, October 2, I basically, at Sawyer Point, it's a great event, if nothing else, to go down and just see the really celebration in a lot of ways. I always tell folks, you know, there's 3 things I ask you to do on this. 4th one being for this organization to form a team, but, you know, sign up first and foremost. As many people as you can have sign up for the team, even if there's not really sure you're going to be able to make the walk. To me, it's a petition to say all of these folks have signed up and are supporting this. The second part would be to show up. If you've not seen it or not familiar with the way the walk works, it's really, again, something to see. And there's nothing like showing support of all these folks walking across the bridges between the 2 states wearing purple and really just showing the support for this. And then the third thing is buck up. So sign up, show up, buck up. And that basically means, you know, try and raise some money. You know, at our club, we set a very low goal. We are always asking for money for something, right? Oh, we've got a new water project in Mexico. We want to get a new ambulance for the local community. It's always there. We understand that. But what I ask is, you know, if you can't personally donate, start on your team and just put it on Facebook or LinkedIn, or, you know, what we've done at our club is we've got a collection can when you come in and just throw change in, change for change, we call it. We do sergeant fines in our club. So one of our quarters will go towards the team. There are a lot of ways to do that that don't mean you have to take out your checkbook and write it, although that it will always be welcome, I'm sure. So I think that's it, if I'm not mistaken. We'll see here. Yes. I don't know if you want to talk about all these things, but again, just we're asking that you take action. You can go check out the Rotary Action Group on the Alzheimer's.org, ALZ.org page. You can register through that, start a team, and then make sure that all your members know about that team. You can customize your team name to the name of your club and get your folks to get on there, and individuals can then go on and sign up to raise funds or to walk. You can contact, this is actually Diana's number, not mine. If you have any more information, or if you're interested in doing any sponsorships or volunteering, we need a ton of volunteers at the walk every year. So if you don't want to do anything else other than, or all you can do is that, please come over and do that. Get a hold of Diana. And again, share our website with as many folks in the club as you can. And many of us are out in that community and hear of needs. This is a great way to get them support and help. It's amazing how many people say, I wish I would have known about that later. I wish I would have called sooner. The amount of support you can get through this organization. And then I'll let you talk about your book and close it out, I guess. Thank you, everyone.
Thanks very much, Tom. We appreciate it. And I think one of the things that Tom talked about, the word that you kept hearing is support, 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 support. Because there is no cure, we have to take care of the families while we are raising funds for research. So as he said, the Walk to End Alzheimer's is the area's largest fundraising event for Alzheimer's care and cure. The event itself on October 2nd down at Sawyer Point. One thing to know is registration is free. We feel that there's strength in numbers. This is our largest support group down at Sawyer Point. It's a very powerful event. I wish I would have brought our Promise Garden flowers today. Has anybody been to the walk before in this room? Well, just to tell you, one part of the event that happens in our opening ceremony is everybody gets a Promise Garden flower. And what it is it's like a pinwheel. And there's 4 different colors. One is blue, which means you have the disease. One is purple, meaning you've lost a loved one. One is yellow, meaning you're a caregiver. And then orange means you're a supporter of the cause. Everyone gets a complimentary flower and you hold them up as they call your reason out. I would currently hold the purple flower on the loss of my mother. Tom would hold the orange flower or the yellow flower, being in the business that he's in. And so when you look around at the 6,000 people at Sawyer Point holding their flowers, you know why they're there. So it's a very powerful, powerful event. So I invite you to come out, bring your families, bring your friends, and share the information, not only about the walk, but most importantly about our 24/7 helpline, and let people know the Alzheimer's Association is here to help. When I went through the journey with my mom, this was right about the time that Ronald Reagan told the public that he had Alzheimer's disease. When the doctor handed my sister the card for the Alzheimer's Association and gave the family the diagnosis of Alzheimer's, I didn't know how to spell the word. I had no idea what Alzheimer's was. I wasn't upset because I had no idea what it was. There are still people out there like that, and we want them to know that we're here for them on the journey. So please spread the word about us. And if you're interested, I have information on the back table after your meeting. And of course, I also have my book back there that I'm selling. Copies are $20, and a portion of the proceeds go to the Leukemia Lymphoma Society, as well as the Alzheimer's Association. So thank you very much for your time. We appreciate it and hope to see you in October, if not sooner.
So as I mentioned, this is near and dear to my heart. One thing that I've noticed when my mom was first diagnosed, of the generation that's hitting very hard, it was almost a taboo topic. This wasn't something you talked about. It was an embarrassment to have a family member who had dementia and couldn't remember things. So I'm thrilled that this is now out in the front. The other thing is there's an app called Charity Miles. I don't know if have you heard of it? So if like me, I walk 3 to 3.5 miles a day. You can track your mileage on Charity Miles. You just turn it on when you walk, and they make a donation to an organization of your choosing. So I walk like 1,500 miles a year. It's like 10-15 cents a mile, but that does add up. All those little things add up. So it's Charity Miles is the app. If you happen to be a walker or a runner or anything, you can start logging some donation miles there.
Thank you for that wonderful presentation. I've had a good friend of mine that I play golf with for about 20 years, and he got the frontal lobe dementia. And it was just amazing how quick, it took him. And I'm with Julia. I've got mother-in-law, my father-in-law and my mother are both going through dementia. And it was interesting. My wife had one of those brief moments just the other day, and it was very moving. Couple birthdays this week. Carrie, happy birthday. Janice, happy birthday. A couple of anniversaries, Brad and Dave, and I can never pronounce her name. Is it Piata? Pida. Okay, thank you. Then we had a very successful recycling event this weekend. We had probably 150 people stop by. And growing up, we'd always have what I call the Attaboy Award. And I know we're kind of sensitive to gender neutral, so I looked up what should I call that today? So I looked it up. So here are some of the words that we might be able to use. C says A, V, T, E, Zim, Z, M, Ver, T, M, Zer, Hair, Air, Vise, Tim, or Air. So maybe add a person. So just to be politically correct there. But no, we had a great recycling event over the weekend. We had 150 people show up. The IT solutions, they were bragging about how good CoFKy did, and we've exceeded what Covington Catholic did. So hopefully we can do this event next year. And one of the things that Rotary does great is our Citizens of the Year. And that's one of our premier events. And that's going to be coming up August the 23rd. And if it's okay with everybody, I'd like to have a catered lunch and invite everybody back to Rotary. And we'll have it here and get everybody back. Then let's see what else I got on my list. Then went down to the Covington Rotary Club, had a great meeting. And one of the things that I liked, and he was talking about it, was the Rotary in Action. And what they do is they give each club or each committee $500 to do something within the community. And I hope that we can do that within our club. And one of the slides that was up there, I noticed that Kentucky was a gray state. It was not a purple state. Is there anyone in the state of Kentucky that's active within the Alzheimer's? Okay, well, that club's going to make that map purple. That's our commitment to you guys. And lastly, I would like to do, to end the meetings, do kind of a motivational moment. And there was a book I read. It was called The Servant Leader by Robert Greenleaf. And he said there's 3 points to being a servant leader. And one of them is, did I help anyone today? Number 2, is anyone better off because I crossed their path today, or they crossed my path? And I don't want to run past anyone that needs my help. Guys, thanks for coming. We're going to have a great presentation next week. Matt Turner is going to be here, superintendent of Boone County Schools. Hopefully he's going to come back with some of our feedback. And it was interesting when I was in the table group, he was like, you know, that's a good idea. We might be able to implement those. So guys, make it a great week.